Well, it's been an incredibly frustrating transfer window here at Lisburn Distillery. We're getting pipped to the post by top clubs for so many young superstar players. We have managed to get a few in the door though, albeit some with conditions. And now we've got to focus on the Champions League. It is crunch time and we're heading off to France. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 163 of this Build a Nation story, Lifting Spirits with me, Daniel. We are back today for a decisive Champions League doubleheader. We go away to Lyon and then away to Premier League West Ham. And if we're being brutally honest about it, we've probably got to win this first game because we are on 7 points in 21st place. And if we don't get another point, we won't be getting through. We're probably going to need 3. So if you're looking forward to that, seeing a big signing that's joined in the January window, but also had to leave the club immediately, as well as a few other surprise signings that may catch your eye, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. In spite of the fact it is now 4 new additions this month, the overwhelming feeling is still frustration. Only one player has moved on when we've been trying to get 2 or 3 out of the club. And we've also missed out on some gems. We're picking out brilliant players across the world. Our scouts are now doing a fantastic job. But now we're missing out on them because the other top clubs can offer more. And they've still got that bigger reputation. We've also seen big news like our former loan player Vladimir winning European Golden Boy. Now he's joining Liverpool. But let's turn the attention on the pitch. And we're going to start with transfer news. And we're going to go over and have a look at what's been going on. Because again, we've accepted an offer for Jonathan Morrison for the 3rd window in a row. We've accepted offers in the region of 7 or 8 million. And every time he's rejected the move because he's holding out for Leicester. We're getting really poor offers for people like Houston, Vucinic, Bayavang. And a few, as we've seen before, now starting to throw their toys out the pram. Houston because I didn't let him join Derby. Vucinic with AC Milan. So on and so on. It's going to keep going. But let's have a look at the history and the things that have been done. Because the first thing we need to do is say goodbye to a legend. He's not had much of a mention this year because he's been injured for the majority of it, but Duncan McKenzie has left for Preston, a player who joined us as an 18-year-old with a little bit of potential, and under our tutelage became a Champions League player, became a Scottish international, and to be fair, a few years later, we made a profit on him. We got him for 600 grand after those loan spells from Everton, and he leaves for 1.1 a number of years later. Was still a really key player last year, off the bench and from the start. But this season, he was 5th or 6th choice centre-half. We bought in that brilliant Lee O'Donnell. We got Cameron Thompson, our international star, and he just fell away. So on he goes, Duncan McKenzie, the first one of those homegrown at the club stars we've allowed to move on. But ultimately, we weren't going to get him football. He's not good enough on the ball for what we need now. So Duncan McKenzie moves on, but we wish him all of the best. We also loaned out Paul Brown. He is a youngster who went to Hereford, and we'd pre-agreed a deal for Aaron Simmons, who you can see has since left as well. As has another one of our January signings, this time a much bigger one, because Xavier, which is what I'm going to stick with for now, is our 2nd biggest ever signing, but has left the club on loan immediately. The simple reason, it is the only way I could get the deal done, because we offered it without a loan deal first and he didn't join. And secondly, we've not been able to get any of our midfielders off the book, the likes of Damien Dunn, Morgan Griffiths, and so many others, Jordan Gash as well. They're all still here, so I didn't want to be overloaded. But Xavier will come in the summer. It is an 8 million deal, rising to 10.5 based on appearances. It does add that bit of flamboyancy to the team. You've talked about it in the comments yourselves. We've not been able to attract many non-British players over here. And when we saw a player in the Eredivisie who's doing pretty well, I thought this is a great opportunity. We'd missed out on a lad from Aberdeen. We missed out on another young Croatian superstar who picked Aston Villa, I think it was. And in the end, Xavier became the best possible option. There is a lad at Arsenal who's slightly better and ready to go. But he was 35 million and we don't have enough transfer budget for it. So this is the option we've taken. I'm hoping with these players we can't lose money even if they don't perform. We'll sell them for the same. Our reputation's got to rise soon. And as you can see, with his physical attributes and some of his technical ones, he is going to be a star in the future. It's just whether he develops quickly enough for us, because now I have spent £8 million on someone who's probably not ready for first team action. I did try and get that young left back from Atletico again. He rejected us after a 15 million bid was accepted, which is one of those things. However, 3 other players join in January, 2 of which you knew about, and 1 of which is a bit as a surprise. Now, he is first team level. He's a very good player. He's been a key member of my international team for years. But Johnny Burns was transfer listed by request at Coleraine, and he was on his way to a couple of top championship clubs. I am not having the best players leave the nation, so Johnny Burns will come in to Distillery. £80,000, and we've offered Coleraine a 50% sell-on. Not something you'd realistically do, but perhaps is the best way for us to get money into other clubs. They have replaced him well, incidentally. We'll talk about that in a minute. But a really good player, very much competitive in our midfield, and probably Barbayavang the best at the club. So definitely not going to come here to make up the numbers, but will be involved. Has been brilliant this season for Coleraine. Will continue to do so for us. Let's get to the other 2 though, which you already knew about. Tennant Harding joins permanently after his loan spell. Actually getting worse in the air at 18, which is a worry. But he is a good footballer and he's a young player with quality and potential. So might be one the next season we look to loan out to one of the clubs in Europe if we can get him to a Linfield, a Lana, Coleraine. That might be really useful for the club. The other one to come in is Aaron Simmons, which we'd pre-agreed from City. He's now gone on loan to Doncaster in League 2. He's one of those, a bit like Declan Hendry in the summer. Massive potential. We don't know if he's going to reach it or not. We're going to give him the opportunity, and at that price, we can take the gamble. So those are the 4 ins. Let me know what you think of the Dutch midfielder. Is he going to be a star? But the fact we've paid 8 million for someone who's not as good as the kid we just paid 80 grand for, you've got to say it's a gamble. But we're at the stage of this save where we've got to. The good news is the players who are out on loan are doing really well. Declan Hendry is coming on leaps and bounds and may well reach that potential now. McGlaw class at Luton is flying. Could be another one back this summer. And Nenad Paleka at Hearts is doing really well. He's also ended his unhappiness and signed a new deal. So that is something that we might be able to address in the summer by getting him in as a superstar. Especially as Jonathan Evans hasn't really delivered this year. The problem is though, we're not building up enough money because our wages and our transfer fees paid now are cancelling out any Champions League money. Add to that this has been our worst performance in the Champions League, and we're not bringing in the points and the money per game either. So since you were last with me, we've played 1 game in the Champions League and lost it, and we've also lost the chance at a clean sweep of the other trophies because, as you can see, we've gone out of the SPFL, my favourite one. I was not a happy bunny about that. However, the big scores are starting to flow and we're starting to look a good side again. So I'm hoping we've reached form at the right time for this Lyon game. You were with me though for Atletico Madrid and Derry City. Into December, we won 7-1 at home to Ballina Millard. Dunn, Misselidis, Austin and Harding all got 1. Jordan Howard scoring the rest of them. At home to Barcelona, Damien Dunn got a late consolation, but we were very soundly beaten. Against Cliftonville, we won 3-1 with a Howard brace and a Vucinic penalty. Against Glenavon, that 7-1 scoreline returned, albeit frustrating to concede a late goal. When Merival lost him with 2, Scully with 4, and Jonathan Evans with 1. Then a bit of disappointment against Queen of the South just 2 days after the Glenavon game. Misselidis and Miles Stout missing their spot kicks, Jordan Gash picking up another knock. Against Crusaders, we bounced back with a 4-0 win, Paul Elliott scoring after a Scully hat-trick. Against Glenavon, a 5-1 victory, braces for Scully and Vucinic and 1 for Bird. 3-0 against Coleraine after Christmas, Preston and Houston with late goals. And then against Ballymena, it was a bit more comprehensive, wasn't it? A hat-trick for Misselidis, 1 more than that for Howard, and Chris Houston got the final goal. A 5-1 win against Linfield, which, by the way, was so fortunate. At the 67-minute mark, you can see they scored an own goal when it was 1-1. We were getting pasted at that point, and I mean genuinely pasted. We were outplayed, we were outthought, but thankfully we got the late flurry of goals, and that fixture congestion and having the biggest squad in the league, it really made a difference for us there. Reed, a Howard brace and Misselidis with the goals. 5-0 away at Ballina Millard as Misselidis, Howard, McGuckin and a Morgan Griffiths penalty brace got the goals. Our biggest win came against Warren Point with a 9-0. 3 for Scully, 2 for Merival Austin, 1 each for Evans, Vucinic, Burns and Howard. That a first for the club for Johnny Burns. And then against Larne, a 2-0 victory, calm as you like. Vucinic sent off, but only after Lonsdale and Howard had made it safe. And then against Ards in the Irish Cup, a 7-0 win at the weekend. Everybody but the keeper rested who were going to start tonight, but it was a Howard hat-trick, a rare goal for young Freeman, and then Misselidis Dunn and Halston with one each. So into the Lyon game we go. Johnny Burns is not registered, Jonathan Evans is suspended. The rest of the team is basically ready to go. The big problem we've got, if we go and have a look at the squad, is that despite a lot of new contracts being signed, there is a lot of unhappiness. We've got virtually everyone tied down now for a year and a half or more. Some of the big players tied down for 3 or 4 years now. However, you can have a look at the unhappiness here. Bayavang wants to go to Celtic. Vucinic wants to go to AC Milan. Chris Halston wants to go to Rangers. There are so many examples. So let's just go and get through to the Champions League game. Hope it doesn't affect us too much tonight. Of course it is crunch time. A win basically sends us through to the knockout round, and a defeat and we're well off the pace. Linfield look like they're going to go out with the Europa League. Lyon have scraped through in the Europa Conference. So there is a lot of pressure on us yet again. And I'm not sure we deliver. Let's go and pick our team. We'll be back in a minute to run through it. Well, I think it's fair to say that our biggest signing so far, Jakub Urza, is not really working out. He's now the weakest player in the 11. He's declining quickly, and he has not had the greatest of seasons. So the only player not to get a 7 rating in the Irish Premiership, that is a big worry given the opposition he's up against. The rest of the team, though, is pretty good, just marred a bit by the unhappiness for 2 of them. So will they be able to deliver tonight? Well, let's go and find out with this 11. It is Jonathan Morrison in goal, still here despite his many offers to leave. Reid and Urza the fullbacks with Bird and O'Donnell centre-half. Bayavang and Lonsdale the midfield 2. Vucinic and Misselidis out wide. He's in for the suspended Evans. And then we've got Merivale Austin behind Mark Scully up front. Let's go and see if we can deliver. Remember, Lyon are only here because they beat Linfield on penalties in the playoff. They are not the side they were when they knocked us out 2 years ago. Well, in truth, probably proven by the fact that they've got both the manager and the bench problems. Despite having a number of very good players in their first 11, they are one of those teams that seem to have a bare bones squad and of course are affected by the manager glitch. So let's go and get through the first half, ask the lads to impress us. We'll get through the interview, we'll get through the music, and we'll be back for first half highlights in a moment. Well, here we are with 25 on the clock. It is Merivale Austin coming down the right to Gavin Reid. Big ball into the box. Mark Scully with a header. And a great save by Tommy Setford, who I think is the only original active player who's left in the team for Lyon. Nearly said Ajax, which is where he started. And he can't keep that one out. Vucinic across goal. Merivale Austin puts it in. I think that's going to count. Surely it's all right. I did notice from the league table that Derry City are well on their way through as the goal is awarded. So although not a Northern Irish side in terms of league coefficient, aside from Northern Ireland doing very well, as Urza, the much maligned man, nearly scored a big goal there. His header off the top of the crossbar. Derry losing at home to Porto, but you can see, there they are in 14th. They're through already with 11 points. And it looks like they're going to be the story to save, outshining us again. We're on to 10, which if we win this, I think will be enough, to be honest, but we've got to get the job done. At half-time, it's a dominant 1-0 lead. We're playing on the counter. We're playing really well. And this Lyon side, they've got rid of 3 or 4 now. They've still got some good players. They've got an 18-year-old number 10 who we've tried to sign twice. He's one who's not interested at the moment. And they've got some really good experienced internationals around 27 to 31. But with an hour gone, they're not really laying a glove on our team. And we're looking particularly good as Urza throws into Merivale Austin. He finds Bayavang out to Vucinic, who set up the goal here despite his unhappiness. And here he comes down the right again. Has support inside. There's 4 in the middle too. Scully's up at 6 for 8 and heads over the bar. We've got 25 to go. I'm thinking about changes. And of course, we'll rotate fully against Glentoran at the weekend because we've got a big game against West Ham next week. I'm going to go for Lonsdale off. He'll be replaced by Jordan Gash. I know Scully's often a superstar, but he'll be replaced too by Jordan Howard, who's had a good year. And then maybe one of the fullbacks, but for now, I don't want to unsettle the defence, so let's leave it as it is. We've got 20 minutes remaining. We've been seamless in a 1-0 lead. And I want to maintain that if we can. So here come Lyon on the right. I'm looking at O'Donnell in defence, who's knackered. You're going to get a week off if you get through this game. Just relax a bit. Merivale Austin in the same boat as here come Lyon down the left. They've switched to play well here. Anderson, a Scottish international. They've released the man in the middle. And Jonathan Morrison, with the greatest of respect, you've got to save that. 15 to go, it's 1-1. I've got to take O'Donnell off because he's knackered. We'll bring Thompson on and switch in with Bird. And then we're also going to take Merival Austin off for Damien Dunn, who did get that consolation at Barca. I'm thinking about press on as well, maybe for Misselidis, but it's not an improvement to the team. It does take away some of the physical edge. So I feel like I've got to be careful here. 15 to go, it's 1-1. And this result will not be enough. We've got to win. I'm going to encourage the lads as Reed gets it at right back. Can carry the ball downfield. Has given it away to Marcelli, the goal scorer. Just ran into a blind alley, really. As Rana picks it up in defence for Lyon. This is where it could turn around. Big switch of play. Urza does well, but it falls for Clement at right back. He gets it inside to Conti, and up it goes to Raymond. Forced back into their own half, but they're dominant on the ball, and they're making us run after it like idiots, to be honest. How a game can change. The momentum swings with one moment. A Sanhueza to Marcelli and Rana. I mean, it's been such a long highlight. It's going to lead to a goal, isn't it? Garcia into Raymond. There you go. Not offside. Goal scored. And remarkably, Lyon will be the last side left in Europe. Misselidis is now tired, so there's no point risking him. Albert Press will come on. But what a turnaround that is. In the space of 2 minutes, we've thrown it away. We're 2-1 down, and against the top sides, we've just fallen short this year. Well, we're having to push the game now. We dominated it in the first half. We didn't take chances, and we've been sucker punched. I mean, you look at those stats at half time, and you'd wonder how we wouldn't win the game. But here we are. Albert Press gets it. Mistake by the defender. Oh, he nearly scored a worldie. Look at those stats. 16 shots, 6 on target. Lyon have had 2 on target and scored them both. They've had lots of the ball, which we expected. But that is a proper FM in on a very big occasion. Lyon scored 2. They're going to get through. And we're definitely not. Because at West Ham next week, we need a miracle. And I don't see where it comes from. We are down to 27th place. I mean, even if we'd drawn, we might have snuck it. But now Lyon are above us as well. Another team that jumps us. And if we don't win against West Ham, we don't get through. They're going to be looking for a win as well. This is going to be difficult. Well, it's time for fitness tests, but we've got a bit of housekeeping to do first because, annoyingly, I didn't realise the Glentoran game wasn't at the weekend. We had the whole weekend off and then played the night before. Now, this one day in the schedule has happened 2 of the last 3 years, so it's definitely a problem. But we did win it 5-0 with a completely rotated side. The issue is going to be the bench today, but Howard's hat-trick, Elliott and Merival Austin with 1 apiece. Now, we've got to have a quick look at the other sides because, unfortunately, Linfield are going out of the Europa League. They're second bottom. They've only got 3 points. And yes, they're playing Hajduk tomorrow night, but even 6 points will not be enough. That's confirmed. For Lyon, they are through in 24th, just. And I did promise that I'd show you the transfer window so you could see what was happening because, although there's not been many big moves for Linfield, Lyon and Coleraine have made their moves this window. So Lyon have signed a good centre-half in Ryan Jackson from Exeter. They're bringing in players from the EFL with regularity. And they always seem to, in January, loan in some top players from the Premier League and Championship. And a centre-forward who can't finish, but the rest of his game is great, is the next one on the conveyor belt for them. For Coleraine, they obviously lost Johnny Burns to us, but they've replaced him with 2. Cowlan McCauley is on the outskirts of the Northern Ireland squad. He's a good centre midfielder and he joins as his replacement. And Kane Armstrong in as a rotation defender. He adds a bit of squad depth at 31. So they are adding quality into the squad. They're doing a decent job. But it's not progressing at the rate we'd like. And we did get to this stage as well, didn't we, in the Bangor City save. So it's going to be a big summer. We'll see how that goes. But for now, we have got our final game against West Ham. And it looks like we're going out of the Champions League. If we don't win this one, we've got no chance, really. So let's go and make our changes. See how fit our bench is after yesterday. We'll be back in a minute to run through our 11, what might be our final Champions League game of the season. Well, I've got to say, it's baffling, but it is a pleasant surprise as well. We have got everyone fit in the 11 and virtually everyone fit on the bench, despite many of them playing 90 minutes yesterday. Defenders seem to be struggling with fitness more than anyone else, which is a worry. Chris Houston, a midfielder, to miss out alongside Thompson, and then Stow and Davis on the bench, not quite there. but the other 10 are all ready to go. And the 11 is, I think, exactly the same as last week, with the exception of Evans in after suspension for Misselidis. So this is the team we've gone for. We're going away to West Ham. We're going to have to try and hit them on the counter. We've got to try and win the game. Something away from home we've not done against these top sides. Well, here are the teams. There are no originals for West Ham that I can see, but they've got some quality players in their side. Nick Carter, an England international, and many others of quality. So let's just go and get through the dressing room. Into the first half. There's no pressure. Everyone thinks you're out already. So let's drop to balance. Let's play a bit more on the counter. See if we can shock the odds away in England. Well, again, it's been a very quiet first half and we return with 10 minutes remaining of it. We've had a couple of shots on target according to the match stats, but we've not seen anything. And this is the first action we're getting as Vucinic finds O'Donnell. Very crowded there after the corner, but it's West Ham bringing it away. And on the counter, we're going to be vulnerable here. You can see that we're in the games more. When we were playing away to these big sides in the Champions League or even the Europa League years ago, we were getting battered. And we were getting outplayed, even if we were nicking odd results. Now we are starting to see more 50-50 games, or even games with a better side in. Obviously against Lyon, we still struggled defensively, maybe a little naive tactically. As Scully brings the ball away down the left here. This time it's us counter-attacking from a West Ham set piece. As Scully gets to the byline, he's the man really we'd want in there. Works his way back to Miraval, Austin and Lonsdale. It's wide to Evans on the left. This time Scully is in the middle. Evans goes in alone though. Beats one. Great effort with the outside of the boot. Lovely technique, but onto the woodwork. It's away as far as Gavin Reed as the chair starts squeaking. Evans gets the ball into Scully. I'm the more nervy of the two here as it is 0-0 coming up to half time. And I guess that's the other side of this at the moment is now we've got a chance in these games. We are a little bit more nervy when it doesn't come off. We're going to tell the lads to keep it up. They've played really well here. But West Ham, it only takes a moment, as we saw with Lyon, as we lose the ball from a header from a set piece. And it falls for a free header, but thankfully over the bar. Derry City are through despite the fact they're getting beaten comfortably by PSG. And we're now on the front foot looking for a miracle. West Ham, the side that Linfield FM'd to win the Europa Conference League. But it doesn't look like we're having the same luck against them as Evans wins a challenge, but it falls for Adolfo. Here comes the counter. Bird wins it. Straight to the edge of the box. Reed flies in. The big game red card curse. I thought it was there. And now Miraval Austin's giving it away. It's not good enough. It's into Rodolfo and off the post. The offside flag is up for the rebound. Oh, that was a bit tense. At the moment, we're 25th. One goal and we're through quite comfortably. It's the frustration we've got here. At what point do we have to pull the trigger and go for it? And at what point can we bring subs on? Because don't forget, a lot of these lads on the bench played a full game last night. It doesn't make it easy, but we've got to gamble now. I'm going to leave Scully on, but you can see tired legs in behind. Vucinic not playing well. We're going to go for Jordan Howard on the right. Damien Dunn as the number 10. In midfield, Bayavank, the unhappiness is affecting him, so Jordan Gash will come on. In defence, I'm tempted, but I'm not going to do anything at the minute. I'm just going to leave it at that. 3 changes made with 20 to go. We're going to encourage, we're going to push these lads on, and we're going to hope we just get that one chance and then can keep a clean sheet if we score it. As Oscar plays away for West Ham, this is the stage at which it fell apart in Lyon. And if we got the draw there, it wouldn't have mattered today. As in go West Ham, that's offside. Has to be offside, referee. We're going to VAR. What's it going to give? Please don't let it count. It looked off to the naked eye. It's awarded. Oh my God, it's happened again. We've been well in the game. We've done really well. And we've thrown it away in the last 20 minutes. And now, I mean, you can just see it going wrong, can't you? As Alberto gets the ball in goal for West Ham. Plays out from the back nicely. And it's falling away. We've got to find a way to be more ruthless because we're not scoring as many goals in the big games this year. And we're conceding in many big moments. Now, Leo O'Donnell is struggling physically. We keep getting told to send him on holiday. We have struggled with fixture congestion a bit more this winter. But as we come to the end, there's no excuse for the defending. It is game over. And to be honest, we've not really been close enough defensively. Scully will come off. We'll replace him with, I don't even know who at this point. Paul Elliott maybe is the option. Maybe Albert Press. I'm going to go for Press on, Howard up front and Dunn to the right. I think that'll do for now. We've got 10 minutes to go. We're 2-0 down. In an even game, we've been put to the sword again on the counter-attack. We're just not good enough defensively. We've got to bear in mind, of course, it's half a new defence this season. The goalkeeper wants out, and we're still not sure who our number one is. But this is a year where we have not got through the Champions League group for the first time. And that is a big problem. Our third season in the competition and our first big failure. Linfield doing the same. You could argue that we're all going backwards in Europe. Well, to give you a little bit of an indicator of the damage this can cause, if you look at the year we're having now, Switzerland are due to overtake us this season, Denmark not far away either, and the Czech Republic bouncing back strongly. So we could be in big trouble in the next year or two. What we're basically going to need is Lyon to go on a run, and maybe Linfield to nick a win tomorrow. But Lyon are going to be the crucial team this season. We will be watching them very closely. No more European football for us, which means we can probably spread these games out a bit. I'm going to get through as much as possible, basically. We'll probably come back for one of the Linfield games, which is going to be crucial in deciding the title, as well as whether we can win the Northern Irish Cup. They are 16 points behind, but with a couple of games in hand. And it looks like once everyone's played those games, it's going to be the usual top four again, with Coleraine back in ahead of Glentoran. So that's where we are for now. Probably our most disappointing year in the Champions League so far. It's down to Lyon to save the coefficient, and we've got them in a few cup finals too. Could they end up overtaking Linfield soon? I don't know. If you want to find out and you did enjoy this one, please do put a thumbs up on the video. We knew it was going to be a tougher year with lots of change in the squad. But are we going backwards? I guess that's the big question. If you want to stay up to date and find out how the rest of the season goes, and whether we can get that big summer, and whether Lyon can do us a favour beforehand, then please do subscribe and turn that notification bell on. No clean sweep this year, lots of transfer targets missed out on, and no knockout football in Europe. It's been a disappointing one, I've got to say, but we've got to rebuild. There's no time to sit and feel sorry for ourselves here. In the meantime, though, we'll be back with Bristol City tomorrow, a thrilling climax to the season in that one. You can find it up in the eye above. There's also links to the Twitch channel, the football podcast, and so much more. Anything you can't find in the description below. And I'll see you back here in a couple of days' time for more big action with Distillery and hopefully some miracles from Lyon.